Alright, now before we get into this video, I would like to put this copyright disclaimer out there just for those people who like the flag people channels. Pay attention. A lot of people need to be educated on sickle cell anemia, even me, and there's things that I don't know. I know that it deals with the blood cells, and I know that it deals with your immune system. So sometimes it be like inner organs, and sometimes it be your bones, your arm, your leg. You know, it's a lot, and I'm so proud of my little cousin. I don't never get a chance to talk about Carl like that, but my little cousin is the president of the student government right now, and that's a major step. Because looking back over my family and the people who done graduated and went to college, there's been no president. So, you know, we joke about it, like we call him El Presidente, you feel me? Me and Lil Carl, we be bending corners, like, it's like, but the realness of it is Carl's been living with this his whole life. It's a lot to deal with.
Sickle cell disease is an inherited blood disorder. It affects millions of people worldwide and is the most common inherited blood disorder in the United States, affecting about 100,000 Americans. Screening for sickle cell disease is typically done at birth. People with sickle cell disease have abnormal hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is the protein in red blood cells that delivers oxygen to all cells in the body. The abnormal hemoglobin causes the red blood cells to become rigid and take on a sickle or crescent shape. The sickled red blood cells get stuck in the body's small blood vessels. As a result, cells and organs can't get the oxygen they need, which can lead to organ damage and failure. It can also cause episodes of pain, known as crises.
When the other kids used to go outside and play, I would try to do that. Then I come home and very sick and have to be back in the hospital.
17-year-old Alexandria Young of St. Louis, Missouri, has sickle cell anemia, among 72,000 Americans with the disease.
Among all Americans, approximately 1 in 1,500 to 1 in 2,000 newborns will be diagnosed with sickle cell disease.
In people with sickle cell disease, their red blood cells become deformed, turning sickle-shaped. The bone marrow tries to make more red cells to make up for the loss, but can't keep up, causing anemia. Their new shape keeps them from moving properly through the body, and the misshapen cells can jam up and stick to the walls of the blood vessels. These clumps cut off oxygen to healthy tissue, delaying a child's normal growth and causing fatigue and extreme pain.
It's like a hammer beating at you like for a long time.
I never heard anybody scream that high and just wail out, and we were like, what's wrong, what's wrong? And man, she would have it so bad where her eyes just roll back up, just roll back, and she's just in pain, just screaming, yelling, and we didn't know what to do.
And I thought she was just talking in her sleep or something, but she had mentioned that she was ready to go home. And I said, Alexandria, you are home. We're home now. She said, no, Mommy, I want to go to heaven. That's my home. And
Okay, deep breath.
Dr. Michael DuBon has been Alexandria's hematologist since she was 4 years old.
Any headaches, double vision?
Fatigue and pain are not the only issue in sickle cell disease. Essentially, every organ in the body can be damaged by the lack of oxygen. The kidneys, the heart, the eyes, and now we know even the brain.
The most common treatments for sickle cell disease: pain management, IV fluids, blood transfusions, hydroxyurea, and surgery. Transfusions deliver healthy red blood cells to the body. However, they also cause extra iron to build up in the body, which can damage organs and cause abdominal pain, weakness, fatigue, and joint pain. Patients who receive ongoing transfusions also must take medicines to remove the excess iron. Bluebird bioscientists are researching a possible gene therapy treatment for sickle cell disease. In the lab, a functioning copy of the hemoglobin gene is packaged into a lentiviral vector. The vector contains a small number of parts from the human immunodeficiency virus, or HIV, which is very effective at moving genes into cells. The vector has been changed so it cannot cause HIV infection. The scientists will use the patient's own blood stem cells, which are collected from a bone marrow harvest procedure. In a lab, the blood stem cells are separated from the liquid bone marrow. Using the lentiviral vector, scientists will then insert the functioning copy of the hemoglobin gene into the DNA of the collected blood stem cells. Inside the body, chemotherapy will be used to remove existing stem cells to make room for the new ones. The modified blood stem cells will then be returned to the patient's body, where they are expected to grow and produce new cells that contain normal hemoglobin. The goal is for the modified stem cells to become a permanent source of healthy red blood cells that do not sickle, preventing organ damage and other complications.
In addition to pain, probably the most feared complication is that of a stroke.
And right here is her silent stroke.
When Alexandria was 12 years old, a brain scan revealed that she had indeed had a stroke.
I was very scared because I thought only older people would have a stroke and not 12-year-old.
Silent strokes like Alexandria's were not even recognized until a small research study in the 90s was conducted to better understand sickle cell disease in children. MRIs showed that strokes occurred when the misshapen and cut off oxygen to it.
Certain locations of the brain control your movement. They control your motor ability, okay? There are other areas of the brain that if we removed it, it wouldn't alter your movement at all. It would alter your ability to think. The area of the brain in the frontal lobe is the area of the brain that's more likely to have silent strokes. So most of the children with silent strokes, they're actually walking around, interacting with their family in a fashion that makes people think that, yeah, this child is doing well.
Dr. DeBon has Alexandria on a research protocol, hoping to stop the strokes. Monthly blood transfusions, called apheresis, remove Alexandria's damaged red sickle cells and replace them with red blood cells from a healthy donor. The hope is that the healthy new red blood cells will prevent her from having future strokes. Dr. DeBon monitors Alexandria's condition closely, including annual brain scans to look for further damage.
I pray constantly, about Alexandria, that she hasn't had another silent stroke.
The young family won't know the results until their next visit to Dr. DeBon.
How's the clinic?
Good.
Straight A's.
Staying on this protocol, it has dramatically improved her classroom performance, dramatically just improved everything. Everything in her life is just completely turned around.
Whew, it's just like a switch, man. It just totally changed her. She started to grow.
Congratulations. That's fantastic. Straight A's.
How was her test results?
We had the MRI of her brain performed a couple of days ago.
It's to make sure that she hasn't had any new episodes of silent strokes.
That's right. And the answer is no. There's been no evidence of progression. So it's all done, and it's really good news. Okay?
My name is Aaliyah St. Julius. I have sickle cell disease. I want to make the track team.
She was diagnosed with sickle cell anemia 3 months. That's how really I got introduced to the Dr. Kim at Lebanon and Dr. Matishkak here. So they became part of my family since that journey.
So I've been a part of Aaliyah's care since she was very young. I've had the pleasure of watching her grow older and becoming quite the young lady at this point. So we've taken care of her needs just basically in the primary care setting, but also like help directing her specialty care throughout her life at this point. So sickle cell disease is a chronic medical condition, so it's something that follows her throughout her life, and it can cause sometimes very serious illnesses, but also means that she needs to have regular care to try to continue to help her be healthy.
When you have sickle cell disease, your blood is shaped like a C. It literally is the shape of a sickle, and that's how it got its name. So this C-shaped blood is very hard, it's not very flexible, and with the pointy ends, it doesn't go through the blood vessels very well. So that blood instead clumps, gets stuck, and it prevents blood flow and oxygen from being delivered to the rest of the body. And that can cause pain, it can cause organ damage, it can cause infections, it can even cause stroke.
The sickle cell can have crises where they basically have very significant issues with pain. It can also cause like significant issues in terms of both their organs as well as their bones.
I'm like, she's spoiled, thinking that she wants me to pick her up all the time. And I didn't understand what was going on until I was getting frustrated as a mom, carrying her around, don't know what's going on, until it was in the middle of the night. I'm like, something is wrong. And then she was crying nonstop. I guess that time it was too late. The pain was too much for her. So I took her to the to the hospital. That's when I realized she had a crisis in her hand. So that's why she couldn't crawl. I didn't know it. I was frustrating and I feel awful. Every 3 to 4 months I was in a hospital with Aaliyah. Every 3 to 4 months. She can't do anything at all to an excessive without throwing her off, that she ends up in a hospital. If the weather's too cold, she goes out, she'll get into a crisis. If it's too hot, she gets dehydrated, she'll go to a crisis. If she has a cold or any kind of infection, she goes into a crisis.
Aaliyah, for instance, at one point in time developed significant hip issues, for which she had to be wheelchair bound and eventually walk around on crutches for a prolonged period of time.
Sometimes when the pain is really, really bad, it feels like I'm getting bit by a animal with really sharp teeth, kind of like a shark. Sometimes, in my leg, in my hip, when I first had the crisis, I couldn't walk at all at the beginning because it literally felt like my leg was getting bit off by a shark. It was really painful.
A pain episode may last until that blockage clears. So it's not uncommon for a patient with sickle cell disease to be hospitalized for 7 to 10 days.
I went through a sickle cell crisis, I think it was last year in 4th grade. It was my last sickle cell crisis I had. It was in my hip, and it caused me to have avascular necrosis of the femoral neck in my hip. So I was in a wheelchair for about 2 years. And then after, it been really hard for my leg to heal up, so I couldn't run for almost a year.
I bring her, I would say half dead, and I come home with her well and healthy because of the doctors and the nurses.
So pediatrics in general is a very special opportunity. And I think the Children's Hospital at Dartmouth does an amazing job of taking care of not only the pediatric patient themselves, but also their families. It is not easy to have kids to take care of kids when they're sick, but I think that our institution does an amazing job of looking out for every little need of the family.
As the social work continuing care manager, I work with patients and families that are dealing with chronic or severe illnesses to sort of help them to manage the other stressors. We have great medical teams that provide care, but I also work to help with the psychosocial supports around life stressors.
Children's Hospital at Dartmouth-Hitchcock has a very family-centered approach to caring for patients. So we care for the entire family because we know that for Aaliyah to be healthy, her entire family needs to be well and also needs to be able to care for her. So from the very beginning, her brother David had been part of this experience. He came to appointments early on. He learned about the disease. At one point, he was very willing to be the donor for Aaliyah.
It's one of the wonderful aspects of our organization is that we actually have the ability to take care of multiple facets of all, even very critically ill children.
The communication between the team, the whole team, is exceptional. I will never, if I have to move, if there's not a Hitchcock clinic around where I'm going, I'm not going anywhere.
I'm looking forward to trying out for track in the spring because I like running, and running is really fun to me, and I would get to be doing it with a bunch of my friends. So it would be a fun experience to do with my friends, and we all could just practice together, go places together, and it would just be a lot of fun. So I think about trying to get myself up and active where I can just go play with them and hang out with them.
Aaliyah has been an amazing girl to me, and now I can't even say girl, she's becoming a young woman. I've known her since infancy. I got to see her from being a tiny infant to a sassy toddler to now this beautiful young adult that she's becoming. She has overcome a lot of challenges, and she's always maintained a very positive spirit about her diagnosis and what she can do.
I'm not at all surprised that Aaliyah is doing this. She is a rock star, and she is just beautiful in so many ways.
No matter how many medicines we have, there's still going to be times when she's going to be in pain. And I have to tell you, of all the kids that I've ever met, she has handled that with just an amazing braveness and a good attitude, to the point where all of us have found it a very privileged situation to be able to take care of her.
She makes sickle cell look so easy. Nothing stops her.
I don't think she sees limitations. I think she sees possibilities, and she looks for ways to make things happen, even when she knows she can't do it the typical way.
There was a famous football player, Bo Jackson, who had a very similar hip injury as Aaliyah. And it resulted in him no longer being able to play professional sports. For Aaliyah to get herself to the point where she can actually be competitive again, despite the type of injury that she had, is absolutely incredible.
The fact that she couldn't walk, so she decided that she's going to run.
It's just great to see them flourish and become what they want and get involved in such great things. And it's not about us here at Chad, it's really about them.
You're one of my favorite patients that walks in the door with a smile on her face every time. And I think you have made all of the care team, sort of happier, stronger people by having us in your life.
Aaliyah, go girl!
I just want to say thank you for helping me through all the crisis I had and saving my life.